In 1994, a new political dispensation took over in South Africa. The ANC government promised a new era of democracy, transparency, and justice. But by 1999, a deal was signed that would shake the very foundation of this young democracy. An arms contract which was meant to modernize the military instead became a symbol of corruption, deceit, and political backstabbing. The $4.8 billion deal, which was about 30 billion rands at the time, became a scandal that implicated the highest levels of government. It tainted the presidency and left South Africans questioning who really benefited and who paid the price. This is the story of the South African arms deal scandal, a tale of bribes, betrayal, and the erosion of trust in a fledgling democracy. As South Africa emerged from apartheid in the mid-1990s, its military, the once feared South African Defence Force, was outdated and in need of reform. The military had been primarily structured and equipped for internal security operations during the apartheid era, leading to outdated tactics and equipment ill-suited for modern defense needs. After decades of violent oppression, the new democratic government sought to rebuild its armed forces, integrating liberation fighters from groups like the ANC with the existing military to create the South African National Defence Force. But South Africa's greatest challenges were not external. Unemployment was rampant, healthcare was collapsing, and poverty was entrenched. The country was in desperate need of infrastructure development, social programs, and job creation. Still, in 1999, President Thabo Mbeki and his administration announced a massive arms procurement plan. South Africa would spend billions of dollars buying fighter jets, submarines, warships, and helicopters from some of Europe's biggest defense contractors, including BAE Systems, Thales, and the German Submarine Consortium. The government promised that this deal would not only modernize the military, but also boost the economy through job creation and industrial investment. But critics voiced their concerns, especially prominent politicians and economists. Why was a country still struggling with extreme poverty and inequality spending billions on weapons? In a time of rising crime, inadequate schools, and crumbling healthcare systems, did South Africa really need high-end Gripen fighter jets and German submarines? The answer, as it turned out, was buried beneath layers of political maneuvering, secret payments, and deceit. As investigative journalists and whistleblowers began digging, disturbing truths began to surface. The arms deal was not just about strengthening South Africa's military. It was also about lining the pockets of powerful politicians. European arms manufacturers had allegedly paid millions in bribes to top government officials, ensuring they secured the lucrative contracts. At the center of the scandal was the Deputy President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, and his financial advisor, Schabir Shaik. Jacob Zuma, a former anti-apartheid struggle icon, had long been seen as a shrewd political operator with deep roots in the ANC. His rise through the ranks was a testament to his resilience. But beneath that persona lay a political survivalist willing to play dangerous games for power. Schabir Shaik was accused of arranging illicit payments from the French arms manufacturer Thales in exchange for political protection. The evidence against him was damning. There were handwritten notes, money transfers disguised as loans, and private meetings with arms deal brokers. In 2005, Shaik was convicted of corruption and fraud and then sentenced to 15 years in prison. But what about Jacob Zuma? Despite clear links to the bribes, he denied any wrongdoing. However, South Africa's anti-corruption unit filed 783 charges of fraud, corruption, and money laundering against him. Zuma's political career seemed to be doomed. But just before his trial, something unexpected happened.
I have come to the difficult conclusion that it is neither possible nor desirable for the NPA to continue with the prosecution of Mr. Zuma.
With the charges against him mysteriously dropped in 2009, Zuma ascended to the presidency of South Africa. Many believed this was no accident, but rather a calculated move to ensure his rise to power while burying the corruption scandal. But just how much did Zuma personally pocket from this scandal? Investigations revealed that Zuma allegedly accepted over 700 bribes in the span of a decade, including direct cash payments from Thales. The total amount? At least 4 million rands, which was about $270,000 at the time. These payments were allegedly meant to secure his influence and to shield Thales from scrutiny. This scandal ran deep, but those in power ensured it never truly came to light. As public outrage grew, the government established the Seriti Commission in 2011, a so-called independent investigation into the arms deal. Many people had hoped that this would bring the truth to light, but instead, it became a national embarrassment. Key witnesses were intimidated or ignored, crucial documents were dismissed, and the final report failed to acknowledge any evidence of corruption. It was clear. The commission was not meant to uncover the truth, but rather to protect the powerful. Years later, the courts finally overturned the commission's findings, acknowledging that the inquiry had been a sham. Yet, no major political figures were ever held accountable, and the billions lost in the fraudulent deals were never recovered. Decades later, many of the weapons purchased in the arms deal remain unused, rusting away in military bases. South Africa's military remains underfunded, struggling with outdated equipment and low morale. Meanwhile, the promises of job creation and economic growth, well, they never materialized. Instead, the deal helped usher in an era of political corruption, economic mismanagement, and crony capitalism. For many South Africans, the arms deal was more than just a scandal. It was a betrayal of trust. It signaled that corruption had become deeply entrenched at the highest levels of power, paving the way for the state capture era under Jacob Zuma's presidency. A government that had promised to build a nation instead built an empire of corruption. Today, South Africa continues to grapple with this corruption. The same culture of backroom deals, political favoritism, and mismanagement has crippled state institutions, fueled economic decline, and deepened public distrust in government. From rolling blackouts or load shedding and failing infrastructure to ongoing allegations of high-level graft, the shadow of the 1999 arms deal still looms large over the nation. It was more than just a scandal. It was a warning that went unheeded. And today, South Africans are still paying the price.